We are back around the octagon, UFC 316 recap. Interesting weekend, decent card. I've seen mixed reviews on it. Luke, I'll let you kind of kick it off. What were your opinions on this card? How'd you feel?
Yeah, all in all, I thought it was a good card. I think we kind of touched on it last week before the fights that I thought it was getting a little more heat than it deserved. I think it performed. I wouldn't say it overperformed, but I think really that just comes down to the title fight. I think everyone was expecting the fight to go a little bit differently than the last time, and if you're rooting for Sugar Sean, it went a lot worse. But overall, Prudential Center is normally not known for the best card of the year. I thought it was up to the standard. And excited to talk to you guys about potential matchups and everything to come.
Yeah, no, agreed. Definitely, I think there wasn't much hype, but it definitely lived up to expectations, I'd say. We saw a lot of cool things. I mean, Kevin Holland revival, Kayla Harrison kind of proving her worth. A lot of cool things to touch on today.
Yeah, and there were some finishes on the card too. I'm kind of in the same boat you guys were. Wasn't overwhelmed, wasn't underwhelmed. I was happy with it. Money well spent. But let's get into it. So kicking off the night, we had the Medeiros versus Shionsky fight. Honestly, don't really have too much to really talk about there. Medeiros looked pretty good. But moving on, we have Quillan Salkill. And I kind of wanted to quickly mention there, I'm becoming a pretty big fan of Quillan Salkill pretty quickly and very quickly into his UFC career. That was just his second fight in the UFC, and he looked sharp, very well rounded. His wrestling was there. His timing was there. Was very, very good entries. He was able to incorporate his wrestling into his striking, which I loved. And he's a striker, not a wrestler. So I think he's a solid prospect, someone that I would definitely look out for in the future. And I think the UFC will try to give him some favorable matchups in the near future.
Yeah, I remember when that Australia card showed up. He was, one of the fighters there, and I think it was his debut. Maybe I'm wrong, but
Yeah.
just very exciting performances from him recently. His last fight, obviously, with that super quick knockout, and then just getting this one done this weekend. So, cool kid to watch out for.
Yeah, and I think was undefeated, right? So taking someone else's zeros always got to feel good. Yeah, definitely a prospect on the rise. Something that we'll touch on down the road here.
Yeah, 100%. And speaking of prospects on the rise, talk about Ju Sang Yu and that knockout that he had over Jake Saragay. That was just stiffening. And then he gave the homage to the Korean Zombie. He's like, I'm bringing that belt back. Let's fucking go. I thought that was pretty tough. I wish we had Ryan here right now because he'd definitely be glazing him a little bit. But Son, I'll toss this one over to you. What'd you think about that knockout, man? That was electric.
Dude, that was great. I mean, I haven't seen somebody go limp like that. First thing that came to mind was like when Charles kind of got Chandler with that knockout. Any of the Ilya knockouts, you really just see guys go limp like that, and it's always exciting. That knockout in particular, honestly, it really kind of mirrored the Anderson Silva.
Yeah, Son, I think your mic cut out.
Oh, did it? Here, let
You're
me
back
let me
now.
take
You're
this
good.
off.
You're back. Well, now your mic's actually out. You should probably put it back on.
You're muted. Yeah.
Yeah, now you're muted.
All right, here we go.
All right, now you're good.
But yeah, no, very, very reminiscent of that Anderson Silva Forrest Griffin knockout. I think it was on Forrest Griffin where he's pushing forward and just left that chin out there and just went, straight to the canvas. So really exciting stuff. I know it wasn't Ju Sang. I said this before. There was another Korean prospect that, I think was debuting a few cards ago. And I called out, after the Korean Zombie, we need, that next Korean prospect that's really going to, light that fire for, that side of the world. So very cool. Awesome performance. I wasn't expecting exactly that, but I did think he was going to win that fight. I think we pretty much all had the clean sweep on him. Just very excited to see this guy fight. Definitely a guy that I'm going to keep an eye out. Any card that comes up that he's on, I'm definitely gonna be tuning in. Super clean striking. I mean, obviously you got it done pretty quick, so not too many notes to take there, but cool guy. I love the call out, at the end, the shout out to TKZ. Let's see where this guy can end up here in the future. I'm excited for it.
Yeah, not much to hit on. I just think when you get an opportunity to fight in the UFC, and I forget if it was short notice, but the first fight, you have a knockout performance of the night. Now we're sitting here talking about a guy like that. That's exactly how, you set the tone for the rest of your career. I think, yeah, we were all kind of, concerned about Jekka and how he was going to, perform. So I think that lived up to standard. And for me, it was my first parlay piece, so I was happy to get that one in there.
Yeah, what a diss, bro.
I'm not trying to, but he's been knocked out a lot. And
No, he has been, and I think it was his fight right before that was against it's like Weston Wilson, and he just got subbed like early in the first and got put into like 3 different submissions in the span of a minute, and I was just like, all right, I will never look towards this guy in any betting aspect ever again, and I guess unless you're betting against him, and yeah, I guess that was proven again Saturday night. But moving on from that fight, we have, I mean, it was the Arianne Silva fight where she missed weight by 7 pounds, which that's kind of the main thing I wanted to touch on there. 7 pounds is a lot of weight. I wonder if there was some sort of medical issue there. Her team probably told her to stop cutting and whatnot, give up half your purse. Wang Kong takes off the purse, wins the fight. Good for her. So I was interesting.
No, just to touch on it quick, man. I mean, the Jonkler, man, look at her go. I mean, 6 pounds is a hell of a lot of weight, and just going up there and still taking the decision, it's good stuff. I mean, it shows kind of the mentality there. Massive props to her for going through with that fight. I know a lot of fighters that wouldn't take that big disadvantage, but she kind of took it head on and got that win. So props to her.
It's a good point. It's a lot of weight, and even more weight in women's MMA when they're lighter in general, just proportionally more weight. So yeah, I mean, 7 pounds is nothing to snuff at all. It's a big difference there. But moving on, now we get into the fun. Joshua Van dominates Bruno Silva, 4 knockouts, put on one hell of a performance, and he's getting rewarded for it with the matchup against #1 Brandon Royval at UFC 317 on June 28th. Luke, kicking this one over to you. Do you see any world in which Joshua Van is able to pull off the upset here over Brandon Royval?
Yeah, I don't know. It's tough. Royval's, the top of the division. He's been in there with, some of the best guys. So it's tough to really make a decision now. But it's hard to root against Josh Van in any aspect. He looked amazing on Saturday night. I saw some stat that this will be his 6th fight in 400 days. It's like averaging a fight every 58 days or something. And when you get a young guy at this weight class, that's, entertaining. And I think the big question we had going in was, does he have that power to finish the fight? And he did that on Saturday. So, the Joshua Van train is, it's full steam ahead right now. So, I'm just excited to watch that fight. That's, 2 top guys in that weight class going at it. I don't know if you guys saw the Manuel Cape video. He dropped a video of him training where he broke his foot. Also a guy I love to watch. So that kind of sucks. But what do you guys think?
Yeah, same boat. I mean, I love Joshua Van. When we filmed the podcast for last week, we mentioned his activity obviously is something that, you definitely have to take note of. And I don't know if you guys said for him to slow down, but that's definitely something that came to mind for me is, maybe, and you get those guys that, come from, different backgrounds that have a lot more activity, maybe in other leagues and, maybe other forms of fighting. He's a guy that's, taking it very well. The high activity is working out really well for him. He's looking better every fight, got the finish last weekend. Pretty exciting. And, it is a huge jump in competition. Royval is absolutely no slouch. I mean, he beat Moreno. That was a hell of a fight, hell of a performance by him. I know I bet against him on that fight. But, this is kind of one of those opportunities you got to take, almost like the Moicano taking that Islam fight, super short notice. It's a complete disadvantage to you. But, if you can stay active and you're feeling good, it's kind of an opportunity you can't really pass up. So I'm hoping for the best for Josh Van here. I'm definitely on the hype train now. I have been for a little bit, but I think, full steam ahead. Let's see if he can speed run this title.
I'm pretty excited about it just because I do love seeing Joshua Van fight. He's one of those guys where every time he fights, it's going to be fun because his output is just absolutely ridiculous and he's not scared to get hit either. But climbing all the way up the rankings to Brandon Royval just seems to be too much too soon for me. While the future's bright, Brandon Royval's coming off beating Tatsuya Taira and Brandon Moreno, 2 top guys in this division, where under a year ago, Joshua Van he lost to Charles Johnson. And I understand he's just 23 years old and he's getting exponentially better, but that is just such a huge step up in competition to go from fighting a guy like, his last fight, Bruno Silva, to Brandon Royval. Losing to Charles Johnson, I understand you've had 4 fights since then, and you've gotten continuously better. But this is Brandon Royval. This is the cream of the crop, a guy who's beaten champions, beaten guys at the top of the division, and he still seems to be up there. So I'm going Royval. I think his wrestling and grappling abilities would just be a little bit too much for Van. I don't know how he'll kind of hold up in that department, but super fun fight. Very excited to watch it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's, you really can't lose for Van. I think you
No.
become a company man when you take a fight, 2 days after you win a fight. And also, if he loses this fight, he gets great experience against one of the best guys in the division. As long as, he doesn't get finished or no injuries. But yeah, I think either way, this is, a great test for him. And either way, I think we see him jump the ranks. I'm hoping he has a great performance.
Yeah, I mean, and just to touch on it a little bit, I mean, the experience part, I mean, Royval, I mean, that's a guy that even if Josh Van loses his fight, that's a guy he's going to run into in the future. So you can know, even if he loses, he can take a few more fights. If he wins those, he's going to be right back up there, fighting Royval again, inevitably at some point. So definitely good for him, and definitely good for him getting that experience young and early on, especially with how much he's growing now. So huge for Josh Van, huge month for him.
Yeah, dude,
And
he's
great for the flyweight division too.
100%, 100%. He's just 23 years old. He can go out there and legitimately get lumped up by Brandon Royval, be a completely different fighter in 3 to 4 years, and no one will fucking remember at all. But then if he beats Brandon Royval, he'll be fighting for the title at 24 years old. So like, it is a good position for him, and happy he's taking advantage of it and capitalizing on his activity and his name. But next up, we had a dominant performance put on from Kevin Holland over Vicente Luque. I was on Holland, but I didn't expect it to go like that. I wasn't expecting a Kevin Holland sub. He seems to always do what you don't expect, though, whether it's for good or bad. Son, you were on Luque. I know that. What surprised you in this fight? What surprised you about Kevin Holland or Vicente Luque, for that matter?
Yeah, honestly, I had Luque by sub. So, I guess the first thing that really kind of stuck out to me was, I guess, his lack of performance on the ground and in the grappling. Kevin Holland was really able to take advantage of that. Obviously, getting the sub win over a guy like that. But it's just so weird. It's kind of like I want to say, Kevin Holland's like the Deadpool of the division. Like, he's just so unpredictable, absolutely nothing going in that fight. It's almost impossible to train for him. Like, you don't know if he's going to try and knock you out or try and, submit you, or if he's just going to go in there and try to make it an entertaining fight. And, maybe lose, whatever. You really don't know. I mean, I was on Luque. I was really expecting an upset here. But yeah, I mean, Kevin Holland, it just really depends what he turns on, sometimes he's just not there. And this weekend he was absolutely there. He was there on the striking, he was there on the grappling. And ultimately that's what, brought him that win. So props to Kevin Holland, proving me wrong. I know it happens a lot, but yeah, props to him and good dub on him this weekend.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I took Luque. Obviously, we filmed that pod early in the week, and the great thing about UFC is I normally don't put my bets into Friday or Saturday morning, so I was back and forth. I was texting you guys. I'm kind of feeling Holland. Stuck with Luque, and like you said, he made me eat my words. Kevin Holland, he's just, dude. Yeah, you never know what's gonna happen, but when he's on, he's game, man. I wish we could get that his whole career. I think he'd be fighting for belts if we kept that consistency. But I don't know if you guys also heard him in the post conference. He doesn't want any hard fights. He really takes this as a job. He's just getting paid. And he also tweeted at Joshua Vance's tweet that he was announcing fight news. He said, "Me 3," which I don't know what that meant because I didn't see anyone else announce fight news, but we could see another Kevin Holland fight, sooner than expected here.
I mean, when's that guy not announcing fight news, to be honest? I mean, I think he said he wants to fight 6 times this year, which is just absolutely absurd.
Yeah.
That's absurd. But so then the question really arises where it's like, okay, well, what do you do next with Kevin Holland? Because he's going to find a spot in the welterweight rankings now after taking out Vicente Luque. And I don't think the UFC is going to want to have a guy sitting in the rankings just to keep it stagnant, fighting outside of the rankings as much as Kevin Holland would probably enjoy doing that. But then when you actually look in the rankings itself, it's like, who would he fight? What matchup makes sense? I honestly don't really see one. Like, I don't see. You already fought MVP. You're not going to throw him up against Prates.
He hasn't fought Burns. I would like to see that, right? They haven't fought. Unless I'm missing something in my memory.
No, he has not fought Gilbert Burns. And he's fought, because he's fought a lot of the other guys in these rankings. He's fought Wonderboy. He's fought Michael Venom Page.
Yeah.
To me, what stands out is Colby Covington. That's a guy that's very sharply declining in, not only the public's opinion on his abilities, but, just his output in the ring. I wouldn't hate that. I don't think, Colby Covington, I think he's at 8 right now. I don't think that's very fair. I think everybody under him or a lot of people under him, take him out. I wouldn't hate that. Plus, it's like, imagine the press conference there. Those two guys mouthing off at each other would be probably like the most entertaining thing since, I don't know what. So I would love to see that. And that's like, when I first looked at the rankings, that's really the first thing that jumped out at me. It's like Colby Covington's coming down. Kevin Holland, unfortunately for him, is coming up in those rankings. And, to me, the consistency thing is just it. I mean, I don't think he takes it too seriously. So a guy like Colby Covington's a guy that he could actually, go out there and actually try to fight. And he would entertain that fight just because, I feel like, 90% of the UFC dislikes Colby Covington.
I would take him over Colby Covington.
Yeah, I would at this point in their careers as well. If this was a few years ago, by a few, probably like 5 at this point. It's been a while since Colby's been decent, I'd say. But 5 years ago, sure, give me Colby Covington. He'd probably just out wrestle him and not get submitted. But nowadays, yeah, I'm taking Kevin Holland. I think he kind of just beats him up on the feet. That's a fun fight too. I like that call out. I think Holland might have said something about fighting Colby. Now that you mentioned it, not 100% sure, but that's a good call out. Moving on, we had, I don't even want to call this a fun matchup. We had Patchy Mix making his UFC debut, just getting pieced up really by Mario Bautista. He was kind of just walking there, very flat-footed, and his head didn't move. It was like a bobblehead. It's literally just bing, 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 feet not moving, getting hit. And everyone talked about how great Patchy Mix grappling is. And I watched some of his old fights back before he fought on Saturday, and his grappling is very good, but you can't grapple while standing up. And it seems like he has zero offensive wrestling. Like he has no ability to really just take fighters down. It didn't even look like he attempted one takedown and it wasn't even close. So it's like, all right, man, your jiu-jitsu can be world class. And I don't doubt that it is, but you can't submit someone standing like that, man. Like it's just not how it works. And he just really got exposed, and it showed the levels to this. And yeah, I guess, Solon, I'll let you talk about it. I don't know if you have anything to add on top of that, but that was just a very underwhelming performance by Patchy.
Yeah, I was super disappointed because, out of all the fights, other than the main event, I think that's probably the fight I was the most excited about. I mean, seeing Patchy Mix, how he ranks up with the UFC. I mean, Luque had great call-outs last week. I mean, there's absolutely levels to this shit. You can't just stroll in and expect to, fight a guy like, as hated as he is, Mario Bautista. And he really showed us, I think the hate from Mario Bautista almost shifted to Patchy Mix a little bit this weekend just because of his low output. But yeah, like you said, he was just standing there, for a guy that was talking all week about, finishing him and his entire crew. He didn't take it to the ground at all. He didn't find any, success. No openings there. But I will say the situation, I don't think we've seen the last Patchy Mix, granted that he's, is going to get older, but I don't think we've seen the last of him. It did seem to me when he walked out there, it seemed like lights too bright, stage is too big type of situation. The crowd, that you pull in the UFC is so much different than anything outside. Bellator, obviously a bit smaller crowd, and I think everything. You're going to the UFC, you're going up against the best. That in the back of your mind. So I will say it's worth keeping an eye on him for sure. Because it was a very rough debut, but let's not forget it's a debut in the best fighting organization in the world. So yeah, props to Mario Bautista. I actually, gained some respect for him this weekend. He fought a lot better. And yeah, I guess sucks to see from Patchy Mix, but I'm hopeful that we'll see a bit of a comeback from him.
Yes, Son, I'm right there with you. We were both on Patchy Mix. I know Ryan was on Bautista here. I feel bad for Mario Bautista. In the pre-fight, press conference, Patchy Mix, this is what made me second guess that I text you guys. Patchy Mix was saying, I'm looking at the top, I'm looking right through you. And something clicked in my head. I was like, damn, that doesn't, I feel like when people say that in any sport, that they're overlooking their opponent in any way and they're hinting at that, it always ends up bad. And I know we posted a story following it about maybe we need to get against the plot of anybody coming in from other promotions, because it seems to be that way right now, that UFC has just proven that it's king every time that we get a matchup from a guy coming from another division, other than MVP, really.
Or I guess
came in and showed.
RDR. RDR is the
Oh,
only other one
RDR
I
too,
can.
yes.
That's the only other one I can think of. But they
Yeah.
RDR was a 2-division champ in one, and he wasn't nearly hyped up as much as Patchy Mix
Patchy,
was being the
100%.
Bellator champ. So interesting
Yeah.
how that works out.
I just also feel bad, like, Bautista has the great performance. They don't even give him a post-fight interview. And I know, like, he's not a fan favorite, but at the same time, like, it's not his fault really that they gave him the decision against Jose Aldo. So I'm starting to kind of feel bad for the guy. He is good. He's been putting on good shows. I'm excited to see what he could do against, the top of the cream of the crop of this division. But yeah, I agree 100%. We have not seen the last Apache Mix. He'll be back. I bet he gets a couple wins under his belt. We're talking about him again very soon.
The part that's a little difficult to think about is it's not like he was really thrown. Mario Bautista is very, very good. Don't get me wrong when I say this, but it wasn't like he was thrown to the wolves of the division in his debut, like how his buddy was. Just sorry, I'm completely blanking on the name. Who was the other Bellator guy that just lost?
Pitbull.
Yeah, Pitbull. When he just got beat up by Yair, all right, you're going out there against Yair. You're kind of thrown to the wolves. I know you kind of touched on this last pod, Luke, but it wasn't like he was getting completely tossed out to the wolves in Mario Bautista. And it's like, all right, well, where do you go from here? Looking at it, I'm kind of looking at the rankings. I know this fight is being rumored, Petr Yan versus Marcus McGee. I don't believe that's official yet. I don't believe that's signed yet. But I wouldn't mind seeing Marcus McGee out there against Patchy Mix, just because I'm curious to see what adjustments Patchy Mix will make in his stand-up game, because Marcus McGee is a very, very solid striker. And if Patchy Mix has zero head movement like he did last Saturday, I could see a similar kind of thing happening. And I think that would kind of just tell the level of where Patchy Mix is at. But if not him, I wouldn't mind seeing a matchup with even Vinicius Oliveira and letting Vinicius Oliveira get a crack at him. And this way we could tell, is Patchy Mix is he a top 15 UFC caliber fighter? I don't really know as of now. Son, what do you have? Anything there?
I mean, not for Patchy, honestly. I really don't know where you go here. I'm kind of split with, giving him another ranked opponent, or, kind of giving him, somebody outside of the rankings just to, see if he can actually perform. Because, I mean, and the thing that really stuck out to me was, I think it really was a mental thing for him. I mean, you see him perform in Bellator. I mean, you see any of his past fights. I mean, he's a damn good fighter. I mean, you don't win championships for nothing in any other league. He's obviously a really good fighter. So it's kind of tough. Like, I want to give him another ranked fight, another, a chance at that. I don't hate the Vinicius Oliveira fight. But that also seems like a fight that's kind of set up for Patchy to lose. Kind of, one of those up and comers. So I almost want to give Patchy, especially if they have plans of keeping him in the UFC. Obviously, he has a really good following. Give him an easier guy, maybe outside the rankings, see what he can do to somebody that's coming into the rankings, and see, is this guy right for the UFC, or should he, bounce and go be a champion somewhere else? Because obviously he's champion material. But, I did look at Bautista and a potential, matchup for him. I think he called out Cejudo, but that's somebody that immediately jumped out to me. A guy that's very wrestling heavy. A guy that's kind of coming down on the rankings a little bit. Obviously, it is 9 and 10 ranked fight, so it wouldn't be the biggest move for the rankings. I don't know if it's in Mario's best interest, but I also wouldn't hate a Marlon Vera fight against him as well. I think those would both be pretty decent matchups for him, and we could see what he can do. Maybe jump up in the rankings. I mean, you're at 10, you kind of got to jump a few spots there. So just a few ideas I'm throwing out there, but yeah, we'll see. We'll see if the Mario Bautista hate stands for the crowds, because I can see him shifting. I can see him coming to the good side.
Yeah, I think when you beat a guy from another promotion that's a champ, the UFC fans definitely like you a little bit more. They're very much, like I said before, that UFC is king. But I agree with everything you said. I like the idea of Patchy Mix getting an unranked opponent, getting a win, getting that one in the column, and then, competing for the, 10 through 11 or 10 through 15. Other than Bautista, I think he puts up a good fight against those guys. So we'll see. But I agree with Mario Bautista. Like he said, you guys said, he called out Cejudo. I think that's a good fight. I don't know what Cejudo's doing. Cejudo called out Sugar. We'll see. And I really do like a Cheeto fight. I think Cheeto needs to get back in there. He's kind of been on a decent layoff recently, so I would love to see that fight as well. I think that's a really good stylistic matchup as well.
And one other matchup that I would honestly really like to see as well, and it kind of depends on how much time Mario Bautista plans on taking off, because this guy is going to be out for quite a little bit. But Davison Figueiredo, I think, would be another fun one as well. That'd be a fun fight in the striking. And I think it gives Mario Bautista the chance to fight like another big name guy that is pretty up there in the rankings, because he kind of just did the UFC a huge favor fighting Patchy Mix. You know, he was kind of expected to lose, and he's fighting someone out of the rankings with no opportunity to really go up. So I think it's time the UFC kind of helps him out a little bit, lets him fight up in the rankings pretty sizably, and give him a crack at someone with a big name. So that'd be a fun fight, but that wouldn't be able to happen for I don't know how long. I don't know when Figgy's going to be ready to come back.
Yeah, I mean, I just took another glance at the rankings. I wouldn't hate a Song Yadong fight either. I want to see that guy active, Song.
Yeah.
And he's obviously been performing pretty well. So, I mean, if the UFC wants to please the crowd and, maybe give a finisher to Bautista, I think that's a good guy that would be cool to do it.
Yeah, that is a good one. And onto the co-main, I guess all the talking got put to rest pretty. Oh, I missed one. Jeez, yeah. The featured fight, we had Joe Pyfer versus Kelvin Gastelum. Pyfer beat him up. That guy on Instagram, if you're looking, or watching, listening, Pyfer did beat him up, was unable to get the finish there, unfortunately. But I thought it was a pretty solid performance from Pyfer, becoming the first guy to knock down Kelvin Gastelum. Did it twice in the first period or first round. I wish he did get that finish, though, because now you're kind of sitting there, a lot of fans being like, well, you didn't even get the finish. Are you ready to fight in the rankings? Are you not? And I guess that's the big question. So, Luke, I'll pose it to you. Is Joe Pyfer's next fight in the rankings, or is he still teetering right around it?
Yeah, I think it should be in the rankings. I feel like he's been a big enough name to sell, a fight night or something like that. I think he's at the point where he's ready to fight in the rankings. And just hitting on this fight, like I think it went exactly how we kind of anticipated it to go. Joe Pyfer looked really, really good to start the fight. And Kelvin Gastelum being Kelvin Gastelum, he just has one of the best chins in the UFC, very durable guy, and he lasted all 3 rounds to push it to decision. But yeah, I don't really know who I think Joe Pyfer should fight next. I'm kind of looking at I would like a Kopylov fight. He's definitely not going to fight RDR. He's not going to fight a Costa. Maybe a Boost. I don't know. It's kind of up there. I think he's a big enough name to sell a fight. I think he's even a big enough name to maybe even get like a Brendan Allen or a Vittori fight. But that is still a pretty big jump in competition. Not that Kelvin Gastelum's not that kind of guy, but he's at the tail end of his career here. But yeah, I think it's time. Joe Pyfer is a big name. He's good on the mic. He's good in the interviews. So I think it's time to see if he has the ability to compete for a championship soon.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned Kopylov. That's a name that jumped out at me. I immediately agree.
The only problem is he's fighting Paulo Costa I think next pay-per-view actually, though. So I mean, that could line up pretty well actually.
Yeah, I mean, I was almost going to say we could get him out for a UFC Noche fight, but he's very against anything Mexico related, even though it isn't San Antonio. So he's pretty strong words for the boys down south. But he's obviously never had a taco good enough. But hey, props to him for speaking his mind. I do think Kopylov would be a good fight, though, matchup wise. I think it'd be good to check his striking because Kopylov is such a technical guy with the striking. Obviously very precise. Very good guy that check if Pyfer can survive those really precise and voluminous shots. So I would like to see that. I think that's a cool fight just to see where his hands are at. But we'll see. I mean, Hunter's always cooking some shit up at UFC. Who knows? Maybe we'll get another champion coming into the middleweight rankings that wants to fight somebody, and we put him up against Pyfer to knock him down. So we'll see. I mean, I'm excited. That's a guy that's cool to watch. I mean, obviously not as powerful as some of these guys that are I mean, I'm thinking like just off the top of my head, like a Derek Lewis, and some of the you're just going to watch and you're going to know that there's going to be a knockout there. Obviously against Gastelum's kind of a different story, but definitely a guy that can put guys out and a guy to fun to watch. So excited to see whatever they put in front of him, how hard he can punch him.
Yeah, and I completely thought he was ready to start climbing into the rankings until he knocked down Kelvin Gastelum, and then every single strike he threw was just, I'm fucking sitting here on my right, and I'm going to throw everything I have into it. And it just seems like he hasn't completely matured yet as a fighter. And if he heard that, he'd probably threaten to beat my ass. But, I mean, that's just kind of how it is. Like, it seemed like he wasn't, like, mentally, his fight IQ wasn't completely there. When he knocked down Kelvin Gastelum, he wasn't able to capitalize and find the finish. And the opportunity for the finish was there for both of them. But you know what he did? Instead of even hitting Kelvin Gastelum and putting his paws on him, I think he just put full strength overhand right going down straight into the canvas because he just missed Kelvin Gastelum's face. And it was like, dude, relax a little bit, calm down. You don't need to necessarily always hunt the finish. It will present itself when you have that kind of power. So now looking at it, what I think would be a really fun matchup, and it's right outside of the rankings, it'll be Cesar Almeida. Talk about checking the striking. That'd be an interesting one. Both those guys have crazy power. Both of them could definitely put each other out with one punch. I think Pyfer would find his chin and put away Almeida, but I think that's a super fun fight. I think that'd be very fan-friendly, and the winner of that 100% fights into the rankings. But if you wanted to get Pyfer a ranked shot right now, I'd probably say Bus makes the most sense, but I don't know if I see a Bus fighting out of the rankings after back-to-back wins to climb in. Usually you'll see a guy kind of fight into the rankings as one's coming out. So I don't know if the trajectories really line up there, but I personally very much like that Cesar Almeida fight.
Yeah, no, it's a good call.
And now we will move on to the co-main, which I prematurely moved on to earlier. We had Kayla Harrison just dominating Juliana Pena, putting all that talk to rest. Because, dude, I was hearing so many clips of those two barking back and forth at each other that I'm just happy this fight's in the past. But wow, Kayla Harrison just shut up Juliana Pena. And we already know who Kayla's fighting next. Amanda Nunes out of retirement. Very interesting, very fun. And I want to say one more thing before I kick it off over to you, Luke. I put out a poll on our Instagram story, and it was, who are you taking in a fight, Kayla Harrison versus Amanda Nunes? And around 60% of people are on Kayla Harrison, and she is opened as the slight favorite. So, Luke, are you going with Kayla or Amanda in your early prediction?
Dude, I think it's a little bit of recency bias. I think Kayla Harrison's a great fighter. I thought she had a great performance. So much respect for her with the weight cut. I don't know if you guys have seen the videos and the pictures since. I think she might have the hardest weight cut in all of UFC. I mean, it's crazy how low she has to get in terms of like compared to her where she walks around at. But yeah, I thought her stamina looked good. She outstruck her in every round. She obviously did really well on the ground and got a sub. Yeah, I was super impressed. I know we don't have Ryan here who bet on Pena, but I think it for the rest of us, it kind of went exactly how we thought it was going to go. And the biggest thing that scared me going into this fight is what happens in the later rounds because, and Ryan made a good point, Juliana Pena can weather the storm and she has, a good jab and, she is a champion as well. And once we get in those championship rounds, what happens if Kayla Harrison's gas tank goes? We didn't get to see that happen. And I think that's exactly the kind of game plan Kayla Harrison and her team had. So super impressed. And I really did enjoy the respect that she gave to Amanda Nunes after, and Amanda Nunes gave her in the face-off after. But I can't bet against Amanda Nunes, man. That's the GOAT. It's not like we're talking about someone who's been out of retirement for 5 years. It's been a couple of years. She's definitely been training. She looked good out there, obviously in street clothes, but she didn't look out of shape. So yeah, I'm on Amanda Nunes right now. Obviously, we'll hear more and see more as we get close to that fight. But I can't bet against Amanda Nunes. I never did it, but I lost money when she lost to Juliana Pena, and I promised myself I'll never bet against her again. And she's motivated again. When we get a motivated Amanda Nunes, we see GOAT performances. So that's what I'm really fired up about. Right now, I got Amanda Nunes.
Yeah, no, very exciting fight. Just to touch back on the fight that happened over the weekend, though. I obviously expected Kayla Harrison to win. I don't think Pena was ever as good as like championship material. I mean, she beat Amanda Nunes, then in the rematch, got beat, pretty much immediately. Her last win was against Pennington, who I also, that was, like that shouldn't have been a title fight to me. Obviously I just think like just levels wise and, abilities wise, I think that was kind of, just like a handover for the belt.
And Pennington won the fight. Sorry for cutting you off, but I thought
Yeah,
Pennington won
no.
the fight.
Exactly. So I was on Pena that fight, so I'm glad she won, but I was kind of, shaking in my boots when that decision time came because I really didn't think that she won that fight. So I kind of handed her that belt, and I really didn't expect her, I just, to me, it's kind of just like a Sean O'Malley championship belt, a Sean Strickland championship belt. It's kind of just like a fight where it's like you're not really supposed to, get that belt. I guess we'll get to Sean O'Malley soon enough, but I don't know. There's some champions that stick out like a sore thumb, and I think to me, Pena was one of them. So I'm very excited to see Kayla Harrison against some serious competition. Not that Pena isn't, but some serious competition in Amanda Nunes. Very excited to see her back in the ring. It's the women's fights haven't been the same since her. Of course, you have the stars like Shevchenko and Zhang Wei Li that everybody's always going to tune in for. But it seems a little bit almost not lackluster. But I haven't been super excited for any women's fights until the Kayla Harrison and Amanda Nunes fight popped up. So very excited to see that. Very excited to see how she held up these past few years and how her years and years of experience over Kayla Harrison are gonna go over in that fight. So early prediction, I'm going Amanda Nunes. I will die on the hill that she's the GOAT women fighter. I don't think anybody's going to kill me on that hill either. So yeah, Amanda Nunes for now and probably for the future too.
And I'll make that a clean sweep as far as early predictions go. I also have Nunes. I just don't think I see Kayla being able to bully her to the ground like she did Juliana. Amanda's fucking big. Amanda's strong. She's a good grappler. I don't think Kayla will be able to ragdoll her there. On the feet, I'm going to lean towards Amanda. I think she's a better all-around, well-rounded striker. So she's not going to take her down, and Amanda's better on the feet. I would give the cardio probably to Amanda as well. Less of that like big muscle fibers that tire out as the fight goes on. So I kind of think Amanda might be better everywhere. And I'm just surprised that the public, at least from what I've seen, has been on Kayla. It must be that recency bias that you touched on, Luke, because I think people just forget how damn good Amanda Nunes was.
Yeah, and there'll be some ring rust when she gets there for sure. You can't run from that no matter who you are, but I think that fight gets out of the first and we see the Amanda Nunes is old. And I just hope it's a banger. I hope it's a good fight. I hope it goes deep into the championship rounds and, one of those ones we're talking about for years to come.
Yeah, 100%. And moving on, we have the main event left. And Merab really just did what Merab does outside of one thing. He finally found a finish. He doesn't do that too often, but that was just your typical Merab going out there. His striking looked pretty solid. Sugar's takedown defense looked pretty solid early until Merab was able to get it. And then once he got it, he just kind of ran from there. San, I'll let you kick this one off and just kind of give your opinions on that fight. And where do you see both these fighters going next?
Yeah, I mean, like I said in the last pod, I didn't think that Sean O'Malley deserved that rematch, especially after, Merab just dominated him for 5 rounds last time. And like I just mentioned earlier, I don't think that, I don't want to take anything away from Sean O'Malley because obviously he was a champ, but I think there was a lot of asterisks there. I think throughout his career, there was a lot of very favorable matchups for him. The Petr Yan fight, in my opinion, and if you check, the Verdict MMA, scorecards that they do, they had Petr Yan winning as well. I thought Petr Yan won that fight. But obviously Sean O'Malley pushed forward. The Aldro fight, really good on him. I mean, he found a clean shot. A slight debate whether it was an early stoppage or not. I don't think anybody's losing sleep over that. I think it was fair, but still a fight that if maybe they would have let it go a little bit longer, maybe it wouldn't have gone that way. But against Merab, I don't think there's you can't really expect anything much else from Merab. I mean, he's been doing it his whole career. He's going to keep doing it until somehow he gasses out. I mean, if he blows along somehow, I think that's the only way we could ever get a tough match out of Merab. I think, to beat Merab, you really have to either stop him in his tracks or beat him at his own game, which his own game is just outpacing everybody, no matter who you are. So I think that's a very impossible way and very impossible, method of victory for anybody is to beat Merab by decision. Somehow somebody else gasses him out. I think, still to this day, Umar poses the biggest threat to Merab. I would like to see a matchup of them again in the future. I think Umar has a good chance of, being able to take him out. He held up really well throughout those five rounds. Not really well. I mean, obviously there was a few blunders here and there, but he did a lot better than anybody else in that ring with him. But yeah, I think for matchup wise, obviously Merab's, the champion. He's going to take everybody that they throw at him. I think the fan favorite pick here for the fight is Corey Sandhagen. I think everybody here is going to agree. I love this Corey Sandhagen coming up for the title fight. Do I think he can get it done? Absolutely not. I think Merab's a monster, but I do think it's a cool guy that I like to watch fighting, and I love to see him perform against the best in the world. So I would love to see a Sandhagen fight. For Merab. For Sean O'Malley, I really don't know. Because I look at the rankings, I see a Petr Yan rematch. I think Petr Yan wins. An Umar fight, Umar destroys him. Song Yadong, that would be a good fight for him. I mean, Song's a damn good fighter. He's been putting on some pretty good performances recently. I think Song is the only guy that really jumps out to me. I know I kind of had him a little bit matched up, threw it out there for Mario Bautista, but I don't hate that for Sean O'Malley. I do think Sean's going to take a good time off, so it'll be a lot more free in the future. Rankings are going to change a lot by then. But I don't know. I really don't know what to do with Sean. I think he's ranked a little bit higher than he should be, because I mean all those guys under him. I really think they take him down. But that's just my opinion. I'm wrong a lot. But yeah, I'm very, very up in the air what to do with Sean O'Malley. I don't know if the UFC wants to throw him to Umar Nurmagomedov. I think that's a crazy jump in skill, and power and everything. Maybe the striking if he's able to get him down, but really not many more favorable matchups to make from Sean O'Malley. I think he's in deep water right now.
Yeah, tough to follow all that, but
sorry. Dude.
Yeah,
yes.
no, I love hearing it because as people who've watched this and listened in, I am very biased towards Sean O'Malley in his favor. In terms of the fight, yeah, I think it played out exactly how everyone expected it to play out. I thought, like you said, I think Sean did a great job, kind of the first two rounds at takedown defense. I thought the second round he did really well, started to land a little bit, thought he was going to open it up in the third. Rob shut that down very quickly with the takedown with a lot of control and obviously got that finish. I was a little bit surprised with the game plan. I felt like it took him a while to get going, but like you said, to Merab's, playing devil's advocate here, Merab looked a lot better striking, in my opinion, than he has in the past. He's continuing to grow in that aspect, and I think that's super scary for everyone below in the division, because if we get a Merab that could strike and maybe even potentially get some kind of knockout power, that's dangerous with his cardio and with his takedown ability. It was cool to see him get a finish just because he hasn't done that. I don't know when the last time he got a finish was, but it's been a while. So definitely a new aspect of his game. Yeah, I think it just kind of stinks for Sean O'Malley. I think I agree with everything you said, Son. He's kind of in a tough spot. In terms of Merab, Corey Sandhagen's the matchup. Kind of just the only guy he hasn't seen. And I'm looking forward to that fight. I definitely favor Merab going into it, just with how Merab fared against Umar and how Corey fared against Umar. But the one thing about Corey Sandhagen is he seems to always have a great game plan. We definitely have seen him get a lot better at wrestling, not at Umar or Merab's level, but he has increased in that. And he does have that knockout power as well, and we've seen him with the flying knees. So something to keep an eye on. Do I think he's the guy to dethrone the king? I don't, but I'll be looking forward to that fight. In terms of Sugar, I think you hit it on the head. I don't know who I want him to see. I don't think he fares well anyone in the top four. I do like a Sonya Dong fight. I think their matchups line up well, and I think it's good in terms for Sugar because he's not really looking to defend many takedowns. But also something that I haven't seen out of Sugar's camp at all, but a lot of people on MMA, Twitter, MMA, Instagram are teasing that maybe he should move up to 145. So I want to get your guys' opinions on that. I don't know who he fights at 145, and obviously he's a tall guy for 135, but he's skinny, he's frail. A lot of those guys at 145, they're compact and they're bigger than they are at 135. So just looking at the rankings, like He's not going to fight Yair. Max is gone. Ilya's gone. He's not going to fight Diego. He's not going to fight Ivalev. Maybe Arnold Allen would be a nice matchup. I think those styles line up well, but I don't know. I agree. He just took a long layoff, so I don't want him to see a super long layoff out of O'Malley, but he's kind of got to wait for all the dust to settle to see where the best fight for him lines up, and I just don't know what it is right now. I agree.
I think bantamweight is still the play for Sean O'Malley. Looking at the top of the division, Merab Dvalishvili, he's not going to be champ likely at like the end of 2026, mid 2027. He's already pretty old, and I wonder. I mean, dude, he is a machine. He is different, but I don't know if he's going to be the bantamweight champ at 36, 37. That's just so tough to do. And O'Malley, I think he lost to Petr Yan. Like, I thought he lost that decision, but that's just off of watching it once while on the couch with the volume on. It was a very competitive fight. I'd have to really go back and rewatch that one to give you a better opinion on it. But at least in my eyes, I think the answer is kind of right in front of us as far as what this division does. You guys already touched on it. Merab is going to fight Corey Sandhagen. Merab said after the fight that Corey's the most deserving, and it's new blood for him. With O'Malley, if Petr Yan's not fighting Marcus McGee, I don't see how you don't let Petr Yan try to get his lick back on O'Malley, and you give O'Malley a chance there to prove that, fuck it, I am legit. I am the number one contender. Because outside of Corey Sandhagen, Petr Yan is next up. He's coming off multiple wins against big names. He's fighting very well. So it's like, all right, well, he's calling for O'Malley. Why not let him try to get that one back? That was a controversial decision. But if he is fighting Marcus McGee, fuck it, man. You just go out there and give him Umar Nurmagomedov, because Umar needs to fight someone in order to get that title shot. And Sean O'Malley's the guy right there. It's an interesting fight, and it's a massive fight. You have, I mean, I guess you have the Irishman versus the Russian. You know, like it's going to be a huge fight, even though neither one of them holds the belt. It's still a massive fight. And then if Sugar goes and loses the fight against Jan or Umar, then I'd be like, okay, now go and look at the featherweight division. But there's still huge fights there at bantamweight, and he still has the potential to get that belt back. So I think he stays at bantamweight. If you lose the fight, though, if he goes and loses to Jan or Umar, either one of them, then I'd move up to featherweight and target maybe a Brian Ortega fight, because that's a big name. That's a big fight. Very winnable too. I think he'd probably beat up Ortega, or Arnold Allen's a good call out as well. So I think those would be the two fights I'd look for at featherweight. But I think bantamweight's still what Sean O'Malley should do.
Yeah, I just to speak to the featherweight thing. I mean, I just don't see him gaining too much from going to featherweight. I mean, weight wise, I don't think he'll put on. I think he's like at a good spot right now. Fight weight wise and training weight wise, I don't think he can put on too many pounds that are actually, utility pounds that he can actually use to, generate some more power. I think it might even slow him down. Just his build, he's kind of a lanky, skinny guy. There's some guys that are just born like that, and Sean O'Malley is one of those guys. Now he's cutting weight, cutting crazy weight to get in the bantamweight rankings or in the bantamweight weigh-ins. So, I don't see him doing fair and crazy good in the featherweight division. If anything, like I would love to see an Aljamain Sterling rematch in featherweight. Give Aljo that chance to get his leg back. I mean, a lot of licks are needed to get back here, whether it's Petr Yan or Aljamain Sterling, I think. I mean, it's just tough to see from Sean because it's so much hype, but he is in a really tough spot right now as far as the next few fights.
I have one more thing I wanted to add on here, and another reason why I think featherweight is just so tough for Sean O'Malley is because what happens if you match him up? Luke, I'll pose this hypothetical to you. What happens if you match up Sean O'Malley across from Gene Silva, and Sean O'Malley's sitting there taking fucking body shots from Gene Silva? Like, I just don't know what would happen. Like, would he break a rib? Probably. Like, I don't know. It's just tough. But maybe he'd fill out well.
And featherweight's kind of a weird, other than Max Holloway, we don't really see like the scrawny guys dominate that division. It's always kind of the smaller compact guys when you have Volk, Ilya, like you mentioned, Gene Silva, although it's more the smaller guys. And I agree. I think the taller guys, I mean, Ortega's pretty tall. Yair's decent height, but it's a tough division to go into. And obviously bantamweight is stacked, lightweight is stacked, but featherweight is right there too, man. We're talking always about Diego Lopez, Ilya, like all these guys they're just as good, if not better than Merab is. So I don't know. It's tough. It's a very tough spot for Sean. I think the worst part about this whole thing is it didn't go 5 where he could have had, some flurries late, even if he lost, to show like, hey, I'm right here. I think the worst possible scenario was a finish for him or to get finished. So pause. But so yeah, I don't really know. I I just saw it on social media. I thought I'd bring it up to you guys. But yeah, Son, I think you hit the nail on the head, man. He's in deep order here. I don't know where he goes next.
It's an interesting conversation, and even back to the fight, I think it was Eric Nixick that said it before the fight, but he's like, I don't see why Sean wouldn't go out there and just throw. Like, you can't be
Yeah.
afraid of getting taken down, and he didn't do it. And I was just, it's like, when are you going to open up like, if you fought a third time, are you just going out there throwing round one?
He was getting hit, man. That's the thing. I think the game plan kind of went out the window. Merab was moving. He was ducking and weaving, hitting him. And even when Sugar landed, it was like Merab came right back and had O'Malley on the back foot backing up. So, great game plan.
It kind of upset me. I mean, yeah, like you said, it feels like the game plan went out the window. But just watching that whole fight, like in its entirety, it's like he didn't change anything from the last fight. He tried to do basically the same thing, but just trying to do it better. And after that amount of time, after giving up all those vices, really locking in like we thought he was, I expected a different game plan, a better game plan, maybe more activity from him, maybe better cardio from him, maybe a lot more pace. And we didn't see it. It was just a carbon copy of the last fight. Merab saw it, he knew it, and he just did the same thing he did last time, but better. So yeah, I mean, it was kind of upsetting to see that he did that, with a team like that, with Tim Welch, a guy that's so smart, a guy that's so creative, to have in your corner. Not much going on over there other than, having the same exact, go out there and be Sean O'Malley.
Yeah. It is tough, man. Well, I will say that's it for me. I don't know if either of you guys have anything else left to say, but
no, I mean, sorry to just one thing. I know we touched on our last pod, a potential Diego Lopez Gene Silva fight. I know that I guess Diego was offered over the weekend or over these past few hours, past few days. He was offered the Yair fight, and I guess Yair turned it down. I don't know, what you guys think, if you guys want to even talk about that. It's a lot of rumors, and I don't want to dig in too much of the rumors, but that's what Diego put on his Instagram. He put out that he accepted the fight, and Yair said no. And I guess they're eyeing maybe Yair for a title fight. What do you guys think? I mean, that was the fight to make in my eyes.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. It's speculation, and that's actually one of the things I was going to get into tomorrow. But if we want to touch on it now, I'm more than happy to.
Let's do it now. Let's do it live. Fuck it. We'll do it live.
I think it's I very well still could see that Diego Lopez versus Yair Rodriguez fight happening. I think it's just a matter of if they actually book Yair for that Mexican Independence Day fight.
Yeah, Noche fight.
Yeah, which I don't know, with it not being in Mexico, I don't know if they still will or not. And to be quite honest with you, Yair is just completely undeserving of a title shot if he gets it. I think it's absolutely just ridiculous. Like, it has to be Mosvar that gets it, and I don't really want to see Mosvar as the champ. I think Volk will end up beating him up. But I don't know, man. I think the whole situation just kind of jumbled. I don't think anyone knows what's going on. I don't think Volk knows what's going on. I don't think Dana knows what's going on. And at the end of the day, I'm really hoping we just see Diego Lopez versus Yair Rodriguez, because that's a dope fight, and give Mosvar his title shot and just get him out of there so we can hear some new names.
Yeah, I think we're at a spot in the UFC as a whole where that division is kind of like, okay, we're good for now. Obviously, Ilya dominated. Max is gone. Ilya's gone. Volk's back, with the belt. And I think you guys hit the nail on the head. Like, if you're Volk and they're like, oh, Yair beat Pitbull, he's next. You're like, I dominated Yair. Like, why would I take that fight? I'm on my second life here. I have nothing left to prove. If not the best in the division ever, definitely up there. And I think Volk's always been the kind of guy that wants the fresh blood and wants the hardest, opponent. And I think that is Evalev, man. Like, that matchup is hard for Volk. So, we've seen Diego, or not Diego Lopez, what's his name? Brian Ortega almost take it from Volk. Like, I think the jiu-jitsu definitely scares him a little bit. Obviously, he's got the GOAT Craig Jones in his corner now. He's definitely improved in that aspect, but I think that scares him a little bit. And I think that's the kind of shit at Volk's age that gets him up, gets him training. So I think that's the fight they're going to make. And if they're even putting out Diego Lopez versus Yair, I think the UFC is looking away from that fight already.
Yeah, and I will say one more thing there, Luke, is that fight with Yair Rodriguez does absolutely zero for Volk's legacy if Volk goes out there and beats him up. And did he beat him up like very recently too? That was what, a year ago, maybe?
Last one before Ilya, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, that
a
was
little bit
very
longer,
recent.
but it was
a year and a half.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's like very recent, and it does nothing for the legacy. I want to see a new name. I have zero interest in watching Yair Rodriguez fight for the belt right now.
Yeah, I'm just kind of sick of the flow of, slander or disrespect that's going on the UFC side. I mean, I think he's been deserving, for the past two fights that, past two title fights that have happened in that division. That's a guy that's just been sitting up there in the top 5 for the longest time, and they just do nothing with him. And now he's up there, he's ranked 1 now. Like, what are you going to do? You're just going to keep him sitting up there? Like, you gotta make him active. I mean, if not the title fight, I mean, I don't know what else you're going to do with him. Like, who's he going to fight other than the champion? They're kind of putting him on ice. So I want to see him active. I mean, obviously I'm not the biggest fan of him because he beat Diego Lopez in their first fight. But yeah, I think that'd be a cool guy to see up there. And it's always, the wrestlers and the legacy, champions that you want to see sitting up there and taking new challengers. So yeah.
And I think they were rumoring Mosvar to be fighting Aaron Pico, making his UFC debut, coming over from Bellator. I don't fucking want to see another one of these Bellator ticks come on in here and just fucking fuck some shit up, bro. Like, no, just give Mosvar his title shot.
But we said the same thing about Patchy Mix, so we'll see how it happens when he debuts.
Fuck Patchy Mix, dude. Fuck all of them. I'm done with him right now. Just let me take a break and let's move on. Give Mosvar his title shot and we can all smile. No more politics, Dana. You keep your politics out of your matchmaking.
Come on, Uncle. Come on, Uncle Dana.
Come on, Uncle. But fuck it, that's all I got. If you fellas don't have anything else left,
I'm all good.
I just wanted to say thank you all for tuning in to another episode of Around the Octagon, and we will be back in a couple days to go over that Kamaru Usman versus Joaquin Buckley fight card, and we are definitely pumped for it. Thank you all.